Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here, and welcome back to the National Telegraph YouTube channel. You there at home, you do not hate the CBC enough. I know that because when I said CBC, you probably thought of awful liberal propaganda, when you should be thinking of unethical behavior and potential criminal activity. Yes, the CBC and its indigenous counterpart, APTN, have gotten out of the liberal propaganda business and have just become a criminal enterprise, trying to kidnap and entrap people to try and dunk on anti woke influencers. This is something that the CBC, APTN, and an affiliate organization have just engaged in. It's absolutely insane, and I'm going to break down the whole story for you guys here today. But before I get into it, I just want to remind you guys, if you like the channel, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, leave a comment about if you know of anything that the CBC has ever done worse than this before, and of course, if you want to help support the channel better, you can always hit the join button below the video and become a channel member. It allows me to be less reliant on the YouTube algorithm for income, and I thank everyone who is already a member of the channel. Let's start this story off with a video that Professor Francis Widdowson posted on her own X account. Now, the visual is not up yet. This is her camera is just being covered for a second here. But I just want to read the preamble to this video so that you can kind of get a feel for what is going on here. And then we're going to kind of wind it back to the beginning of this tale so you get a full picture of just how unethical and potentially criminal the actions of the CBC and its contractors are here. So Francis Widdowson here says, "My interrogation of Mr. Smarmy, Igor Vamos, as set up by a made-up company called Forge Media, which pretended that I would be doing an interview for a docuseries. This outfit is evidently connected in some way to CBC." So we'll watch a little bit of this video because it is 11 minutes long. You just need to see the beginning of it so you get the stage set for you. And then we're going to wind it back to Lindsay Shepard's part of all of this.
What's this about? Tell me what this is about. Who are you?
Now, this is probably seeming like the setup to a thriller or horror movie, someone just sitting in a room with a pile of shoes in front of them while a bunch of people walk around like automatons and refuse to speak. Now, this person, Igor Vamos, who Francis has dubbed Mr. Smarmy, does eventually talk to her and pretty much just dodges every question and acts completely dumbfounded and stupid at everything that she tries to put towards him.
This is a pile of shoes that I believe two Aboriginal people came and dumped on the table. This seems to be a setup of some outfit that's doing a reality television show that wants to paint me, I guess, as some kind of a racist or something that they're going to post on social media. What's your name, sir?
Mike Smith.
Mike Smith?
Yeah, I think yeah.
And that's not his actual name, by the way.
You got it exactly right. You've defined it precise. Well, I wouldn't say exactly right. This is social experiment.
Okay.
And it's on video, and I'm on video too. So we're on video together.
Yeah, we're on video together.
Yep. So I think that you figured it out, and now we can wrap it up.
Okay, but...
And so it goes on like this for the entire 11 minutes of this guy just being kind of, you know, wistful in the way he talks. Oh, I guess, yeah, you understand what's going on here and all that. Acts like this is all normal. It's not normal. It's potentially criminal activity because the way that they had gotten Francis to go on a plane flight and in a car ride to get to this undisclosed warehouse location they were filming in was through obvious fraud, pretending they were people that they weren't, using not even their correct names, using company names that were not real, because apparently they're making some sort of expose series a la like The Fifth Estate, except far more hacky, to try and like expose residential school deniers. But in fact, the shoes should let you know that these people are insane, like reconciliation activist radicals, because they dumped shoes on the table because Francis denies the Kamloops 215 grave story, which in fact, if you know anything about it, is a hoax. But they were trying to like embarrass her by in the middle of this interview where they were asking her apparently ridiculous questions. Like it started normal and then it got ridiculous. A guy who dressed as John A. McDonald walked in, started saying racist stuff. Then two Native women dumped shoes on the thing. That was supposed to be the big dunk on Francis, going to make her feel very silly for showing up, getting absolutely, like owned by these producers because they dumped shoes on the table and had a guy dressed as Johnny McDonald say racist things to her. Like, I don't get it. But now we need to roll back the tape and go look at where this kind of was starting to originate from. So after Francis Widdowson had revealed what happened to her with a company named Forage Media, we then had Lindsay Shepard, who works for Juno News and also used to be a staff member for the BC Conservative Party before she was fired for completely ridiculous nonsense, basically saying that TRC Day is stupid. I agree. She was fired for that for some reason. But she then revealed her own story about another company apparently tied to this docuseries that entrapped her because she wrote a children's book about John A. McDonald. So check this out. Lindsay Shepard here says, I found out recently that I was deceived by social activists in an elaborate scheme dating back to January. A production group with what I now know was a fake name and fake identities gave me a friendly interview about my book, A Day with Sir John A., and about Sir John A. McDonald back in February. They connected me with a false company called Heritage Figures Canada with a fake website and hired me to perform consulting work for them. We had what I know were fake meetings, fake documents, fake commercial shoot, fake prototype of a Sir John A. collectible. Then in a second filmed interview last week, they turned on me and it was revealed to have all been a setup in order to demonize Sir John A. and smear me. It turns out this is a taxpayer-funded CBC and APTN project. There is so much I will make a video. They all also deceived Francis Widdowson. And I'm going to get into in a little bit here who else they also deceived, because if you don't know, I work for the OneBC party and Dallas Brodie. Forage Media, the exact same fake organization that ended up entrapping Francis Widdowson, tried to entrap us and Dallas Brodie. We, because we're a large team, we're not just a singular person like Lindsay or Francis, we immediately noticed some red flags about what they were sending us. I don't have screenshots of their website, but I viewed the whole thing. It was very sketchy. I got a really good tip-off as well from his friend Stuart Parker, who had said that there seems to be people going around trying to set up fake interviews, or there seems to be fake companies going around. I'm not sure if that information had come from Lindsay Shepard, but at least there was a slight murmuring around the anti-woke community that something was going down. And also Dallas Brodie, who used to actually be very momentarily a CBC producer on shows like The Fifth Estate, knows how they typically behave, and the way they were approaching us felt a little bit weird. But here is an email to Lindsay Shepard from a Catherine woman, and it says, Hi, Lindsay. We can confirm that this project is in early production for CBC Entertainment and APTN. No details pertaining to exhibition are confirmed at this time. Please contact the independent producers with any further questions. Best regards, Catherine, she, her. So Catherine Wolfgang. So I believe this is a newer email from Lindsay poking around and demanding answers from the CBC itself. They seem to have had to admit that what just happened to her and what happened to Francis is part of a CBC APTN, which again is Indigenous CBC, basically. It's like even worse CBC. This is one of their projects. They had to actually tell her that it was. And here is another screenshot here that she posted, and it says, Project Counting Coop, Company NLTI Productions, Key Creatives, Dakota Ray Hebert, Gitz Crayboy, Ryan Mocassin, Shane Belcourt, Tito Yabera, Marlo Miezaga. All these people are involved in this. Basically, that they are doing this comedy docu-series trying to make a fool of people who are anti-woke. Because it's not even just conservatives. Not all these people are conservatives. Francis openly identifies as what she calls like an Orwellian socialist, like a George Orwell style socialist. And, you know, obviously Lindsay Shepard is more of a right-wing conservative. Dallas Brodie is, of course, a, you know, more right-wing conservative. And this has also happened to a few other people. They tried to entrap them, or maybe they successfully entrapped them. I probably don't need to tell you that this is criminal. Now, Francis has been posting her own videos going over what happened here. But one thing I want to highlight, well, first, let's also highlight another person that they tried to go after, because this is very key. They tried to go after Aaron Gunn here, who says, wait until people find out how the CBC show tried unsuccessfully to manipulate and deceive a sitting member of parliament on its crusade to further attack Canada's history and smear the reputation of Canada's first prime minister. And it's not just about John A. Macdonald, it's just about the entire country in general. Dallas Brodie here says in her statement, Forage Media also approached me about doing an interview. They said that they were subcontracted by CBC. We smelled a rat right away, so we asked some follow-up questions about what other documentaries they had done, and when they failed to answer sufficiently, we've refused the interview. I worked at CBC Toronto in 1998-99 at the Fifth Estate and Marketplace, and I knew from my experience that this was not the normal procedure for arranging interview subjects, and now we know that the CBC was in fact behind all this. What is going on here, CBC? We want answers. This, to me, looks like you kidnapped Francis Widdowson. I think the police need to get involved here. And that's what I kind of want to get into in a little bit after I post the email exchange that I had with our other research director, Masha Kleiner, with Forage Media. Forage Media here, we got this. This was the exact text of the request that I had posted a few days ago after Francis posted the tape of her dealing with Mr. Smarmy, Igor Vamos. And they said, this person, Pam Gibson, who is the same person that Francis and I believe Lindsay Shepard dealt with, they say here, hello, Miss Brodie. I'm a producer developing a docuseries for the CBC that investigates how land, law, and democracy are negotiated in Canada, going to air later this year. We're looking at the impact of land decisions on the erosion of public trust in civic life, and we would love to feature your voice. We value the way you speak to the issue honestly and practically, and at a time when there's so much public pushback on the truth and a breakdown of democratic process, we think your perspective deserves broader engagement. In the episode where we'd like you to feature, we're looking specifically at how Indigenous land rights are being advanced in ways that sidestep democratic accountability, eroding public trust and undermining Canada's future as a functioning democracy. We'd love to invite you to a short interview with one of our producers and a single camera, a simple setup over an hour or two. Are you available in the next 2 weeks? Let me know and I'll set up the logistics, and happy to share some questions ahead of time to help you prepare. All the best, Pam. Now, Forage Media, if you don't know, at this point is a fake company. In fact, right after Francis Widdowson started calling them out, and I also published my own information about Forage Media, suddenly looks like this domain isn't connected to the website yet. Whoopsie daisy. Oh, I guess they accidentally tripped over the plug that kept the website online, and now it's gone. It's almost like this entire thing was fraudulent. But what you'll notice in that email I just read from Pam Gibson at Forage Media, which, again, they seem to have changed their name a few times when they were first trying to go after Lindsay Shepard, and then they were trying to go after Brodie, Aaron Gunn, and Francis. In that email, they're not like, it's not like if you read between the lines, you understand that they're going to be hostile. No, they fully just say, no, you have a great perspective. We want to interview you about what you think. And this is the thing that first kind of tipped us off. A little bit too friendly for an organization supposedly affiliated with the CBC, but we've now seen through Lindsay Shepard, the CBC has fully admitted that they are involved in this thing. They were trying to get Dallas, and I presume a similar email was sent to Francis and Lindsay. They were trying to get her to come to an interview on false pretenses. The idea that they just want to have a sit down and talk about all of the land claims, what Dallas has been saying about Kamloops, all of how the land claims are undermining democracy and all this. They're literally trying to pepper us with all of these different kind of compliments and sort of propositions, making it seem like this could be a more conservative subcontracted production company from the CBC. I looked at their website, all of their supposed old products, and they had fake products on their website. I couldn't find IMDb's. I couldn't find any online information, no YouTube trailers, nothing for anything on their website. And it was all kind of trying to be more conservative coded. You know, a documentary about a guy going and joining the military, a documentary about Valley Forge or 1776 and the Minutemen in America. It was all sort of kind of trying to be this curated assortment of like small town conservative life in Appalachia and whatnot. And it was just a little bit too squeaky clean to be real. And it turns out it was fake. I ran it through some AI testers as well. Everything on their website had touches of AI to it in order to make fake posters and whatnot. But let's get back to the criminal activity side of this. This is, from at least my reading, kidnapping. They effectively kidnapped Francis Widdowson. She had taken a flight and taken a car ride to a nondescript warehouse that they had set up their filming studio, and they brought her there under false pretenses. Kidnapping is not just you grab someone and throw them in the back of a van and drive off. It's not just you get someone to step into a basement into some sort of like a crawl space and you lock them in. That's not only what kidnapping is. Kidnapping is also if you like ran up to someone and said, your daughter's in danger, you have to come with me right now. And then 30 minutes into the drive, they're like, where are we going? It doesn't matter if you hurt the person or not, or demand money from them. The fact that you are getting them to go somewhere that they would have not agreed to if you were upfront with what was happening is what turns it into kidnapping. Now, that doesn't mean that if you were making prank videos and you sort of made you look kind of a thing, that isn't kidnapping. It's if you're kind of doing if you keep it within the realms of the person, you're at least actually somewhat in keeping them informed on what's going on. It's kind of complicated, but what Francis was brought in for was an interview about her ideas, about the Kamloops 215 thing, all of her work on pushing back on indigenization, and the interview was not that. Again, they brought out a guy dressed as John A. Macdonald to say racist things, and then two Native women walked in and dumped shoes on the table to try and mock and humiliate and harass her. That sounds like kidnapping. You got the person to travel to another city and then go to a nondescript looking building to then be harassed and humiliated. That's completely false pretenses. That's basically forcing somebody's movement based on a false pretense. But anyways, so I want to then jump into some of the other things that have been posted about this since then. This should get the CBC sued into the floor. They thought that they were somehow, really getting one over on the anti-woke people, and they may have actually just ruined several people's careers by trying to do it this way. But they think they're untouchable and they can do whatever they want. And if a conservative did this, the RCMP would be investigating tomorrow. The RCMP should investigate the CBC and APTN and the subcontracted producer for this. Lindsay Shepard here says, here are some emails I received from Molly Gore, Pam Gibson, and Igor Vamos, Michael Smith, as part of the prank show that CBC and APTN will be airing. This is how they were communicating with me. So right here it says, hi Lindsay, I'm developing a docuseries for a national broadcast, and we'd like to discuss inviting you to take part in our episode focusing on reclaiming the legacy of John A. Macdonald. We think your advocacy is critical to preventing the cultural amnesia endangering Canada right now, and that is your voice would really enrich the program. Are you free to chat in the next few days? I apologize for the short notice. We go to camera in a few weeks. The role would be compensated, of course. here is the next one. Does February 8th work for you? I think we'll only need a half a day and our crew can come to Victoria. So hopefully that makes it easy. Let us know what accommodations you need with the baby. We still sorting the location, but just to clarify our options, are you open to filming at home? It'll be quite a small crew, just 1 or 2 producers and a camera. Very simple. Thanks again. We're thrilled to feature your voice. Yeah, let's have all these people fraudulently entering Lindsay Shepard's home with her infant child there. I think she has now 2 children. It's 1 or 2. Let's go there with her baby in the same house to have a bunch of people harass and attempt to humiliate her because she wrote a book talking positively about John A. Macdonald. And there's nothing wrong with John A. Macdonald. Can you find things bad about him? Sure. That's called humans. What you're gonna like? He's not Hitler, guys, but they really want him to be Hitler, and all these people are trying to, like, I guess, pretend that if you are in favor of John A. Macdonald, that you're like killing all these children associated with these shoes we're dumping on the table. It's just gross what is going on here. So let's go to another email. Here it says, Lindsay, thanks again for taking the time to interview us last month. I have some exciting news. One of the other subjects we're featuring in the series is a new toy company that's going to launch children's John A. figurine later this year to celebrate his legacy. And we'd like to invite you to consult on the creation process and also to serve as the ambassador when it launches. Your work have elevated the story of John A. and has been a great inspiration to them. They are already in the later stages of the toys production, but the role would involve consulting on some of the scripts around the launch. And, blah 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 keeps going on there. And then we have one more thing. Stop it, Rudy Giuliani. I accidentally clicked on a space where Rudy Giuliani was there. I don't need to read the last email there. Rudy Giuliani ruined it. Thanks, Rudy. But yeah. Lindsay probably could sue these people for defamation. They should be charged with fraud. There's a difference in terms of like a prank when an interviewer walks up to a guy and he asks him a silly question and he records him and taking it seriously and making him look kind of dumb. There's a difference between that and like weeks of interviewing people, setting up fake meetings for a toy you're developing and a series that you're going to do, reclaiming the legacy of John A. Macdonald and celebrating him, and then doing the complete opposite when you show up. Entering her home and doing the complete opposite. Getting Francis to fly in a plane and go to a nondescript warehouse studio to then try and be mocked and humiliated. This is kidnapping, fraud, and definitely some form of defamation that they should be suing over. And I hope that all of the organizations like the JCCF and TDF and all other sort of civil liberties organizations get involved, because this is the government doing it. The CBC is the government. They get a $1.5 billion of government money. APTN even more so. It is fully government funded. Nobody watches APTN. And all these other people getting money are connected to government funding. And it's not, this should be news everywhere. It is becoming like news all over the alternative media, but every single legacy media outlet should be covering what could be the most unethical thing a journalist has ever done in Canada for a supposed story. Anyways, so with all that being said, I will come and bring you guys updates on this as time goes on. I know there's some journalists developing long investigative pieces on this. Tristan Hopper from the National Post reached out. I had forwarded the emails that we got from Forge Media, and I assume that they will be hunting down all the people involved in all this so we can get a proper background on what the CBC is doing. And by the way, what kind of show is this going to be? If this wasn't caught and highlighted, what were they going to air a show where it was just going to be Francis talking about her views and Lindsay talking about John A. Macdonald, and then suddenly like 2 angry Indigenous women enter the room and dump shoes on, and then like a laugh track plays? Like, this is the meme I developed around all this. I just want to play it quick. I just want to like post this quick. The whole thing is just embarrassing when you actually think about what their vision for this was. Because I posted this sort of soy jack meme in response to Alex Zoltan posting the shoe picture, and he says, "Is no one else perturbed that the CBC thought a genocide was good content for a comedy show?" And he's right, because the sort of activists at the CBC would consider like residential schools and, you know, the development of Canada as like genocide. So is the whole comedy bit that going to be that they're like, that there's genocide and that Francis doesn't believe there's genocide? Is that the punchline here? But I posted this a soy jack meme where it's, you know, it's trying to portray a very kind of smarmy leftist, not unlike Igor Vamos. And I just made up these quotes as a joke. And I said, wow, look at those shoes. Pretty embarrassing that we lied to you about doing a normal interview and then dumped a box of children's shoes on the table. You're too racist to understand how much you just got owned. Did you see we got a guy to say racist stuff dressed as John A. MacDonald? Yeah, that's a historical figure you like. You should see your face right now after we violated your trust and harassed you. Oh my goodness. You can't make this stuff up. So, defund the CBC, an amazing opportunity for the federal conservatives to demand the CBC get defunded in its entirety, that APTN get defunded in its entirety. The fact that the CBC let this happen is indicting. Their normal content sucks. This is criminal. Anyways, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Consider hitting the join button and becoming a member of the channel, and I'll see you guys all next time.